Last November, I took a solo road trip back to my parents' ranch in northern Wyoming for Thanksgiving. If you've ever driven across the middle of the country, you know exactly what the roads feel like. Miles of empty fields, straight highways, fog that sits low, like it's waiting for something to happen. I'd done the drive before and hated every second of it, but flights were expensive, and I wanted my car with me for the holiday. I pushed hard the first 2 days, covering nearly 18 hours total. By the time the sun dipped behind the horizon on day 2, I was already miles away from any real town. The main interstate split into this smaller single-lane highway, one of those roads people only take because they have to, not because they want to. No streetlights, no other cars, not even truckers, just trees, wind, and the endless sound of tires rolling over asphalt. Around 9 p.m., I knew I had to stop soon. I was exhausted enough that I didn't trust myself to keep driving. That was when I saw it, a beat-up little gas station, sitting alone in the dark, like someone had dropped it there by mistake. Its flickering lights were the only color for miles. The place looked like it belonged in a horror movie. One pump, peeling paint. A roof that sagged like it was tired of being held up. But it was open, and that was enough for me. I filled my tank and walked inside to ask if I could rest in the lot for a few hours. There was one guy working the register. Gray hair, sunken eyes, maybe in his late 50s. The moment I walked in, he looked startled, like he hadn't seen another human in days. He told me they were closing in 15 minutes, and if I was comfortable staying out there overnight, he wouldn't stop me, but said it in this weird tone, like he was hinting I shouldn't. When I replayed his voice in my head, it almost sounded like a warning, but I brushed it off. People in isolated towns are often awkward, that's all. I went back to my car, leaned the seat back and set an alarm for 3 a.m., planning to sleep a few hours before getting back on the road. 15 minutes later, the store lights shut off. His car pulled away and vanished into the night. And then it was just me. The darkness swallowed the place instantly. No hum of neon, no glow from the store windows, just pitch black silence. I remember thinking that if I screamed right now, nobody would hear me. The nearest house was probably 20 miles away. I must have been lying there for about an hour when I heard it, the crunch of gravel under tires. Slow. Heavy. I opened my eyes. A black pickup truck was rolling into the lot. No headlights. It moved like it was stalking something. It pulled up right beside my car. Not across the lot. Not at the pump. Right. Beside me. I couldn't see the driver through the tinted windows, but the truck was angled toward me like whoever was inside wanted a perfect view. Something in my stomach dropped. I felt this primal fear, like my body knew what was coming even before my mind did. I didn't hesitate. I shot upright, turned the ignition, and peeled out of that lot. Gravel flew everywhere as I sped back down the empty road. Okay, I told myself. Maybe they were just stopping for a smoke or something. Don't freak out. But half a mile later, something thumped under my tire. My headlights caught a glimpse of what looked like a duffel bag, a big one, long, lumpy, almost exactly the shape of... No, I didn't even want to think it. I pulled over on instinct. Bad idea, I know, but curiosity got the better of me. I stepped out, the cold night air instantly killing whatever comfort I had left. The bag sat in the center of the road like someone had placed it there deliberately. I took maybe 3 steps toward it before I heard gravel again from behind me. A vehicle was approaching fast. When I looked up, I saw nothing but darkness, but the sound kept getting closer, fast, aggressive. I sprinted back to my car, dove in, slammed the door, and locked it. The moment I did, the black pickup burst into view behind me, this time with its headlights on. They were bright enough to blind me in the mirror. The truck screeched to a stop just feet behind my back bumper. Both doors flew open. 2 men jumped out. I didn't wait to see more. I floored it. My hands shook so violently I could barely keep the car straight. I tried calling 911, but of course no signal. Nothing but dead air. I didn't know if they were chasing me. I didn't want to look. I just kept driving until the road finally split into a larger highway, nearly 40 minutes later. When I reached an area with signal again, I called the police. They searched the area. They found nothing. No bag, no truck, no footprints, nothing at all. To this day, I don't know what was in that bag. I don't know who those men were. I don't know what they wanted from me, or what they planned to do if I hadn't driven away when I did. But here's what keeps me up at night sometimes. The old man at the gas station didn't say, "If you're okay, sleep in here." He said, "If you're comfortable." Like he knew something. Like he was telling me in the only way he could. People don't sleep here because they don't wake up. I've never taken that road again, and I never will. I was on day 3 of a cross-country road trip, heading from the East Coast to California. I'd done long drives before, but nothing like this. 1,800 miles of unfamiliar highways, winter storms rolling in, and towns so small they didn't show up on the map unless you zoomed all the way in. Around 7 p.m., I hit a long stretch of highway construction. Traffic slowed to a crawl, then diverted into a single lane. My GPS rerouted and told me to take an exit onto a frontage road that ran parallel to the highway for a few miles. I didn't think twice. Everyone else kept driving forward, but I assumed they were heading to a different city. My GPS had never led me wrong before. That was my first mistake. The road my GPS put me on narrowed fast. Streetlights disappeared. Houses disappeared. Eventually, the construction zone lights behind me were swallowed by darkness. Snow began falling harder, sticking to the windshield, forcing me to slow even more. The whole time, I didn't see a single other car. Not ahead, not behind. After nearly an hour, driving deeper into what looked like absolute nowhere, the road curved away from the main highway. My GPS said it was still correct. Then I saw them. Lights, not bright ones. Just a cluster of dim yellow glows, like porch lights in an old neighborhood nobody lives in anymore. A town, a tiny one. Relief hit me immediately. My gas tank was low enough to make me nervous, and this might have been the only station for miles. But as I got closer, that relief turned into something else, something colder. The town was small, too small, maybe 15 or 20 buildings total. Most of them looked abandoned. No cars, no people, just old wooden houses and boarded up storefronts that looked frozen in time. The kind of place you'd see in a documentary about small towns that died after the highway routes changed. But the lights were on. Not warm, lived-in lights. More like those cheap, automatic bulbs that flicker every few seconds. The kind stores used to look occupied from far away. I pulled up to the gas station at the edge of the town. It looked like it hadn't sold a drop of fuel in years, but the single overhead light was on, and the pump was working. There was one other car there, a grey SUV packed with luggage, suitcases, blankets, a cooler, kids' toys stuffed in the back seat. I could see everything clearly because the windows weren't tinted. It looked like a family or a traveler, just like me, had stopped here too. Except there was no one inside it, no one outside either. The gas station building itself was dark, completely shut down. That sick feeling in my stomach got worse. I started pumping gas, slowest pump I've ever used. The meter crawled upward, inch by inch, like it was being hand-cranked by someone underground. And all the while, the wind cut through the silent town like it was blowing through empty bones. Then I heard it, a scream, a man's voice. "Help! Please! Help!" It echoed from far off, bouncing off buildings, impossible to pinpoint. I jolted so hard I hit my shoulder on the pump. I spun toward the direction I thought it came from, the far end of the town where the lights didn't reach. But it was pitch black, no movement, no silhouette, just the stillness of winter air. I stepped back from my car trying to listen. Before I could even process it, the scream came again, closer this time, way closer. "Help! Somebody! Help me!" My entire spine tightened. Something about the scream was off, too loud, too desperate, almost rehearsed, like someone repeating the same line. And then, movement. A figure sprinted between two buildings, just on the edge of the darkness. Then another on the opposite side, like shadows slipping from branch to branch in a forest. I don't know how to explain it, but they weren't running toward help. They were running toward me. And I realized something else. They weren't shouting anymore. All I could hear was the soft crunch of snow beneath multiple sets of feet, running, circling. My heart kicked into overdrive. I yanked the gas pump out even though I'd barely filled half my tank. That was when they stepped into the light. 4 men, maybe 5. I couldn't tell. My brain was in panic mode. They emerged from the edges of the darkness like wolves closing in, each from a different direction. No flashlights, no cars, no voices, just sprinting, full speed. I dove into my driver's seat, slammed the door, and locked it so fast my hands barely kept up. My engine struggled in the cold, but finally roared to life just as the first man closed in. I floored it and swerved around the last pump, nearly sliding on the ice. In the rearview mirror, I saw them scatter back into the dark like they'd done this before, like they were used to people getting away at the last second, or maybe not getting away at all. I didn't stop driving until my GPS reconnected and rerouted me back to a major town. I reported everything, the screaming, the abandoned SUV, the coordinated chase. The police said they would look into it. But I knew from their tone they didn't believe me. Or maybe they did. But they knew something worse. That this wasn't the kind of town you go investigating at night. A week later, I checked the news for anything. Missing person reports, a found vehicle, a raid, nothing. As if the town never existed. And maybe that's the worst part. The idea that somewhere out there, along some forgotten winter highway, is a town that lights itself up at night just long enough to lure people in. A town that shouldn't be on the map. A town where people don't scream for help. They scream to draw you closer. I was 23 when I drove across the country in an old white cargo van I'd clumsily converted into a sleeping setup. A thin mattress, a few boxes, a blanket from my parents' house. That was the extent of it. I was moving everything to the West Coast, where my parents lived, and figured sleeping in the van would save money. The first day of driving went better than expected. Long, boring, but manageable. By midnight, exhaustion hit me like a wall. My eyes stung, my head felt heavy, and my brain kept drifting. So when I saw a blue sign that said, "Rest Area, 1 mile," it felt like a gift. I imagined truckers, travelers, bright floodlights, the comforting hum of engines, somewhere safe. But when I took the exit, my headlights revealed something completely different. The rest stop was hidden deep below the highway, surrounded by thick trees that blocked out nearly everything: wind, sound, light. The place felt carved out of the earth, like someone wanted it invisible from the main road. When I pulled in, the parking lot was empty. Not one car, not one semi, just a concrete lot swallowed by forest. I thought about getting back on the road, but I knew I wouldn't last another 10 minutes without falling asleep at the wheel. So I told myself I was being paranoid, locked my doors, used the restroom, and returned to my van. Walking back across the lot, I had this weird, instinctual feeling like the trees were watching me. It sounds stupid, but it was such a strong sense of being observed that I kept turning around even though nothing was there. Inside the van, I locked everything, pulled the curtain across the front, and lay down. I must have fallen asleep instantly. I don't know why I woke up. No nightmare, no noise, just sudden alertness. The kind of feeling that snaps your mind awake before you understand why. Then I heard it, whispering. 2 men, right outside my van. The voices were low, hurried, like they were quietly arguing. I sat up slowly, my chest tightening. I hoped they were truckers who'd pulled in without me noticing. That would have been normal. Fine. But when I peeled back the curtain just enough to peek out the front windshield, my stomach dropped. There were no other vehicles. The lot was still empty, but the whispers continued, now on the passenger side. I held my breath, moved to the side window, and lifted the curtain a centimeter. A face stared right back at me. His eyes were wide, alert, like he'd been waiting for me to look. His face was pale, just inches from the glass. When I jerked back, he ducked out of sight instantly, too fast. I froze. I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear leaves crunch. It was like he melted into the dark. I waited, listening. My heartbeat was so loud, it almost drowned out everything else. When the whispers stopped, the silence became even worse. I knew I had to leave. I climbed into the driver's seat, started the van, and began rolling toward the incline that led back up to the highway. Halfway up, the van jerked violently. The dashboard lit up. Low tire pressure, rear right. The van dragged hard to one side. The tire wasn't just low, it was shredded, flapping, grinding, destroyed. Someone had slashed it. Cold dread poured into my stomach. Then I heard a sound from the trees beside me. A rustling, not wind, movement. I turned my head slowly. A man stepped out from between the trees, the same one who'd stared through my window. He smiled like we were friends meeting unexpectedly. He walked right up to my door and tapped lightly. "Hey," he said, voice calm and soft. "Looks like you've got a flat. I can help you with that." Behind him, deeper in the tree line, I saw another silhouette standing completely still, watching. waiting. My throat went dry. My hands shook on the steering wheel. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The man saw what I was doing and his smile faded. He knocked again, harder this time. "No need to call anyone," he said. His tone dropped. "We'll take care of you." The second man moved closer, stepping into faint moonlight. Both of them were positioned like they were just waiting for the van to stop or for me to open the door. I didn't give them a chance. I slammed the van into reverse and let gravity pull me back down the ramp, the shredded tire screaming across the pavement. The van jerked violently. The man ran after me, slapping the side of the vehicle and yelling something I couldn't understand. When I hit the flat part of the lot, I floored it a second time, giving the van enough momentum to push up the incline. Somehow, barely, it made it to the top. When I reached the highway, I didn't look back. I drove with the ruined tire for miles until I reached a populated area. I called the police, explained everything. They checked the rest stop. The report came back. No signs of anyone there. No footprints, no tire pieces, not even evidence the tire was slashed. The officer joked it was probably animals, but animals don't whisper. Animals don't wait outside a locked van. Animals don't smile at you through a window. I still don't know what those men wanted, but I know one thing. If I hadn't woken up when I did, I wouldn't be here to tell this story.